بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. أما بعد, my brothers and sisters, we are looking at the issue of marriage, and in our series of lectures on living Islam, the question that people ask, they say, what is the secret of a good marriage? And to me, that there is no secret. The secret of a good marriage is mutual respect. Please notice, I'm not even saying love, because to me love is a result. It is the outcome of respect. You cannot love somebody you don't respect. I'm talking about human beings. When you love your dog or your cat, you don't necessarily respect your dog. But in terms of human relationships, if you do not have respect for a person, then it is not possible to love that person. And that is the reason why it's important to have respect of each other, of the spouses. Now, this is not a one-way street. You can't force your spouse to respect you. You can do things and you can behave in ways where respect is inspired and engendered in the heart of the spouse. So respect is inspired, it is not enforced. I'm not talking about signs of respect, because this is something which we see in many cultures, whether it's in organizations, whether it's in families and so on, where people have different ways of showing respect, purely signs of respect. So you say salam first, you stand up, you raise your hand to your forehead like that, or whatever the case might be. These are all signs of respect. These can be enforced. You can have, because of social pressure, because of family customs and traditions and whatnot. These are things which can be forced. But what is in the heart cannot be forced. And signs of respect which are enforced almost always, or I should not even use the word almost, always. If you try to force it, then you find that actually, in fact, the person learns to hate, does not learn to love. Because nobody likes for something to be enforced. I remember several years ago in my business consulting practice, in my family business practice, I was speaking to a young guy who was the scion of the family. He was a grandson. And he was the third generation coming into this. So the father was his grandfather was the founder. The second generation was his father and uncles, and this guy was the third generation. And he says to me, and he was going through a very rebellious phase, and he, literally sort of was almost against everything which the founder wanted to do, and he made a lot of sense. It's not that everything he said was reasonable, or that it should have been addressed in that manner, but much of what he said was reasonable. But that was not how the old man was seeing it. That was not how the grandfather was seeing it. And of course, he had the authority. So I was not arguing with him, but I was trying to explain some things to him. And he told me, he said, the person that you call by name, because he is your contemporary and he is your friend, I have to touch his feet when I go home. Because this is a Hindu family, so this is our tradition. He said, I have to touch his feet. And the way he said that, I have to touch his feet, was so full of resentment and so full of anger, that I thought to myself, then what is the good of touching the feet? Because, there is no love in that touching the feet. There is no respect. There's no genuineness in that touching of feet. So enforcing it because of social custom and so on and so forth really didn't achieve anything for the business founder, for the head of the family, that he probably thought he was achieving. Now it's not that he was forcing this boy to, this young man to touch his feet. This is the culture. So this is what he was doing. He knew he had to do it. If he didn't do it, that would be seen as very disrespectful, and he'd probably face a lot of flack from everybody else. So he's taking the easy route out. I say, okay, so this is one more meaningless ritual that I have to get through. So he gets through it. But there's no respect or love that is associated with that. Now, between spouses, you may not have a touching the feet kind of custom, but I'm just giving you this as an example. But the key thing is to generate that respect, to have that respect. Now, the way to have respect is quite clearly both with love and respect. You cannot love somebody you don't know, and you cannot respect somebody you don't know. And it's amazing how people can be married for, many years, and they really don't know each other. Right? The physical aspect of the marriage doesn't ensure that you know the person as a human being, as a person. What do they like? What do they dislike? What are their genuine interests? What's really in the heart? What is their passion about life? How would they like to be remembered after they pass away? What is their legacy? None of this is really known and shared by the two spouses. And the biggest reason for that is that there is a lack of conversation. There is no talking, there is no conversation about any of these things. The conversation, if you had to, install cameras in the house and videotape that, the conversation is almost 100%. The conversation is purely transactional. Did you do that? Did I do that? Did you get this? Did you get that? And so on and so forth. This has to be fixed. That has to be. So the whole conversation is almost purely transactional. Obviously, you must have transactional conversations. If there are transactions happening, you need to, know what's happening and follow up and so on. But if that is the only conversation which is happening, then really, do you have a wife or a husband, or do you have an employee that you're talking to? Is it a boss-employee conversation, or is it a husband-wife conversation? I mean, some of you might be laughing and saying, so what's the difference? But, jokes apart, the point I'm making is that unless you have meaningful conversation which relates to the individual, you cannot know them, and if you don't know them, you can't love them and you can't respect them. The second thing is that in these conversations, another thing which I've seen is even if the conversation begins, very quickly it degenerates into good and bad, right and wrong, trying to enforce your ideas and your worldview and your concepts onto the other person, and not accepting that other person and what they think, how they think, not accepting any of those things, but rather trying to enforce your vision and your understanding. Now, again, it's really a sabotaging of the good intentions and sabotaging of the potentially good things that could have happened or come out of that conversation. Because nobody likes to be judged, and if every time we have a conversation, if it's going to be like teacher and student, and so, oh, this is what you think, no, that is wrong, this is how you should think, then there is no conversation. It will die. I mean, very quickly, even if somebody is intrepid enough to start it, very quickly that enthusiasm will be killed and that conversation will be finished. So it is extremely important to have these conversations and to talk as equals without the need to enforce your worldview on the other person. I have a rule, and my rule is that unless it is something which is against the Sharia, right? If either of the spouses is doing something which is haram, which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has prohibited. For example, if it's a matter of prayer, you say, well, this person, my husband doesn't pray, my wife doesn't pray, then there is a big problem. But other than matters of the Sharia, if the person, if the husband or the wife, if they are thinking, if they are working, if they are doing some things which are, as per their own likes and so forth, and they don't violate the laws of the Sharia, then the best thing to do is to leave them alone and accept it and let them live their lives. They have a right to live their life the way they want to. And as long as that way is not against the Quran and Sunnah, leave them alone. Let them live like that. Why would you want to change it? Because if you want to change it, then what it merely means is that for you, living by the Quran and Sunnah is not enough. They have to live by the Quran, Sunnah and you. Now there is a intrinsically problematic thing by itself. So leave them alone. Some of these things are very basic. For example, what time do you wake up in the morning and so on. If you don't wake up for Salatul Fajr, if you are not praying Fajr, then there is a problem. But as long as you are praying Fajr, somebody wants to sleep late, alhamdulillah, go ahead, sleep late. And so forth. I mean, I don't want to make a list of all the things. But very, very important to develop respect for one another. That is the so-called secret. Second one is do senseless acts of kindness. Senseless acts of kindness. What I mean by that is that don't do something because it is her birthday or it's a marriage anniversary or it is Eid or something. No. Just do something because you love her. Do something because you love him. So give gifts and flowers and sweets, not a bunch of bananas. And not on birthdays and anniversaries and so forth. This is mechanical and with things like Outlook and Google Calendar and so on, you don't even have to remember it anymore. It just pops up. And believe me, they also know it, you also know it. So if somebody is today, this is a unfortunately sad thing because today, earlier, if somebody sent you a greeting, then you felt happy that, oh, so and so remembered my birthday. But today, people, strangers send you. And LinkedIn is a absolute joke as far as this is concerned. Because on my birthday, I get like, I don't know, I have probably as many, not as many, but a lot of the people who are on my LinkedIn, many of them I've never seen them in my life. I don't even know how they got there. But they will send, happy birthday Mirza. And Mirza is not even my name. Happy birthday Mirza. So this is the funny thing. I mean, no. So I don't even respond because I don't think they even expect a response because you don't even know the person. You are saying, okay, so you say it, but as far as spouses and so on are concerned, so it's not a matter of I forgot the birthday. Forget this. The machine give gifts throughout the year, right? Don't forget about the machine which reminds you. Give gifts throughout the year. Give gifts because you love the person. You like to see them happy. And Rasulullah said, give gifts to each other because it increases the love in the heart for one another. Now, each other, he's talking about generally to whoever, any other brother Muslim or man or woman. But here we are talking not about any other Muslim, we are talking about your spouse. So your spouse has even more right to get gifts from you than anybody else. So give gifts. Now again, this doesn't have to be a big thing, right? You don't have to buy them a Mercedes and feel free if you want to do that, but you don't have to buy them big things. It can be a small thing. Just a matter of saying that I thought of you, right? I remembered you. So it can be a small thing. It might not even be something that you have to go to a shop to buy. Just you pick up something which is a flower from somewhere or a nice little rock that you went somewhere and this little rock is so nice. I know you like this. Whatever it is that they like, the key thing is to show and demonstrate that you are that this person, your spouse, is not far away from your thoughts. That you are not lost in your thoughts, not lost with your friends and whoever you were with, but that your spouse was with you in memory, and in spirit. Um, Especially if you have been traveling and you've been away for a while, make sure that you uh, give gifts. These are the gifts are the adhesive of a good marriage. The key to remember in all of this is that it must be something that you are sharing with your spouse alone. Right? Gift wrap the article, tie a ribbon, put a perfume on it, announce it with flowers. Use your imagination to make it special. Uh, it's not about the article, it's about creating memories. A gift is not one you pull out of a sack of gifts for the whole family. No, it's something that only she gets, only he gets. It's something she gets when there's no reason for it. It's something that she got which nobody else, when nobody else did, knew. It's the exclusivity of it which gives the message to say that you are special. And that applies, of course, you are special meaning man or woman. Whether the wife is giving it to the husband or the husband is giving it to the wife, you want to say and show that I want you to know that you are very special, you are unlike anybody else. So give with an open heart. Men like gifts, women like gifts, everybody likes gifts. So give it with an open heart. Another one is playing. We say couples that play together stay together. That's the proverb. And I want to add to that and say that couples that pray together stay together. One of the most beautiful hadiths of Nabi Sallallahu, he said that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves the man who wakes up for tahajjud and wakes up his wife. And Allah loves the woman who wakes up for tahajjud and wakes up her husband. And he said that if the husband or the wife have difficulty waking up, then sprinkle a little water on their face. But make sure that they wake up. Right now, so praying together. Nabi Sallallahu said, don't make the house into a graveyard, meaning that you go to the masjid for your salah, but then nobody prays in the house. No, let the family, let the wife pray in the house. Take small children along with you and pray along with them. And even the husband, I'm not saying don't go to the masjid for first salah. By all means, go to the masjid for the first salah. But when you come back home, pray nawafil, pray the sunnah at home. There is more value and it's worth more praying the sunnah at home than praying the sunnah in the masjid. So we come back to the issue of playing together, doing things together. Your any games and entertainment, sightseeing, holidays, do them together. Even if you think of, even if you go somewhere where you have an interest which you don't share with the spouse, no problem. Let them go. You go with them. Let them go and do what they want to do. You go and do what you want to do. But go together, travel together, stay together. Also try to generate and develop an interest, common interest. You don't have to be as passionate about it as the other person, but genuinely interested. And what's wrong with being interested? I mean, you don't have to be an expert at that. Show and then communicate this genuine interest. So it's something which again generates. The whole idea is to create an atmosphere of togetherness in which there is meaning for each other. Now, playing also is, it's it can actually be actual play. For example, you can play tennis together, you can play golf together, and so on. But don't make that playing into a competition, because that defeats the purpose of the whole thing. Because at the end of the day, you want to see a smile on the face of the other person. Not, you're not winning a battle on the tennis court or the golf course. So it is something that you need to be thinking about. Be genuine. If you really don't like something, don't do it. Say it nicely, politely, but don't do it. Because a cosmetic smile, plastic smiles are detectable a mile away and they don't impress anybody. Performance is not the key everywhere, and one place where it is not is in a marriage. The performance appraisal for a marriage is a joint statement which spells success of the marriage, not of your personal performance. Otherwise, it will be like saying operation is successful, but the patient is dead. In our fast-paced lives today, we don't have the time to simply be. That's another fantastic thing. It's one of the signs of a good relationship that you can be together without talking. There should not be a need to constantly go, cap, cap, cap. Uh, just being together, just looking at the scenery together, enjoying one another's company together. Not each one in their phone. I mean, please understand that. We're not talking about each. If the two people are together and you are in your screen and she is in her screen, then you're not together. She is with whoever is on the screen and you are with whoever is on your screen. So being together, throw away the phones. We're talking about being together, not in the phones. But another beautiful thing is to read together. So you have a book, she has a book, and maybe the same book, maybe two different books, and you read together and you talk about what you read. Newspapers, read together. Or maybe you read the newspaper and you tell her, she reads and tells you what is happening in the world and so on. Saves you the trouble of reading it yourself. So all of these things, anything that you do, that you must be able to do together, meaning that time and energy and attention must be in it and with each other. Just being physically two bodies in the same room doesn't count. So watching television together doesn't count. Unless you're watching something in which both of you are interested and you're going to be discussing it and so on and so forth. Television is one of the biggest useless things, and sometimes which also destroys marriages. Don't keep on looking for results for everything. What did I get out of this? Because that's very stressful and it's detrimental to a marriage. A marriage is for sukoon, for tranquility, for harmony, peace, and many times this translates to just being together without any so-called results. Right? So keep thinking of that. Fourth question which I was asked is, how can you try and make an unhappy marriage a happy one? Now this is a tough one because there's a pre-clause to it. Once you satisfy that pre-clause, then it's very easy. And the pre-clause is, do you really want it to happen? Do you really want to make an unhappy marriage into a happy one? Now it may sound strange to you, but I've seen in many years of counseling that all the failures that I saw were because the partners did not really want to make it work. So when somebody comes to me and says, this is what's happening in my marriage and I want your help, I tell them, first and foremost, ask yourself, do you really want this to work? Because if you've already decided that this is gone and you are looking for a divorce and you're going through this only for the motions, then don't bother. Go get a divorce. Don't waste my time, don't waste your time. Because going through the motions of something is not going to help you. Are you genuinely interested? Because if you're genuinely interested, then you will have to do things which will make you uncomfortable. Your marriage didn't get to this stage just like that, by itself. You did many things. And your wife or your husband, whoever it was, the other spouse also did many things which you should not have done. Now you have to undo all of that. That's not easy. But it is doable. But it will happen only if you really want it to happen, not unless. And I've seen, as I said, in my many years of counseling, that all the failures were because the partners did not really want to make it work. They were not sincere, they were merely going through the motions with the idea of satisfying themselves or others, that they made the effort. Now that's a lie, because they never made the effort. They acted a drama with a precluded ending. They knew how this is going to end, and they're just going through the motions. So they didn't make an effort. Don't even fool yourself. But once you are sincere about turning things around, then you need to sit down and write down all that you like about your spouse. Right? I'm showing you now some steps. So you decided now you want to change how things are. So sit down and write down all the things that you like about your spouse. And remember, these were the things that you liked enough to marry them. So what were they? What were these things? Then when you have your list, you write down the problem areas. Turn the paper around. What are the problem areas? Now usually that works like magic. Marriages go bad most often because we don't appreciate the good enough and are not thankful for what they have, and we focus purely on the negative things. So I ask the two spouses, do this. Write down all the things that you liked, and on the back of the thing, Write down your problem areas. And then exchange these sheets of paper. You read what she has written, she reads what you have written. Sometimes people ask this question. They say, well, what is the point of being positive? I always say, be positive, no matter what the situation. Be positive. How will it change the situation on the ground? It won't, right? If there is something which is happening on the ground, you're being positive or happening to you, you're being positive will not, or let me say, may not, most of the time it doesn't, change the actual situation. But what does it change? It changes your approach to that situation. It changes the way you look at that situation. And that changes everything. So the external situation doesn't change. What is internal to you changes. Now what is internal to you is, when you are being positive, is you start looking at the beneficial things, the pleasant things, the positive things in that situation. And there are always, no matter how bad the situation is, there is always something in it which is good. So you start looking at those things in the situation which are good. Whereas if you are in a negative frame of mind, then you will ignore the good and you will look at only the bad things in that situation. So in a marriage, you can see how it works. Being positive about it, you will appreciate the good things in the marriage. And if you are negative, then you will only look at the faults. So the external situation may not change. Whatever your husband or wife is doing may be the same, but your own approach to that will change. You will get more mellow, you will get more patient, you will get more appreciative. You will express that appreciation more. And that will change the external situation. So to begin with, by being positive, the external situation will not change, but by continuing to be positive, the response to your positivity is that the external situation also will change. So it's very important to be positive. So what are the things that you like about each other? Marriages go bad most often because we don't appreciate the good enough, and we don't express that appreciation, and we are not thankful for what we have. I often ask couples, how many times a day do you thank your wife or husband? How many times a day do you hug or kiss them? How many times a day do you tell them that you love them? Now again, people sometimes, why should I have to say this all the time? And my answer always is this, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala Jalla Jalaluhu, who sees everything, knows everything, He Himself said in Surah Ibrahim, لَإِن شَكَرْتُمْ لَأَزِدَنَّكُمْ. The one who expresses his thanks, the one who is thankful, I will increase my blessing for him. وَلَئِن كَفَرْتُمْ إِنَّ عَذَابِي لَشَدِيدٌ. And the one who is thankless, let him beware that my punishment is severe. So you are saying about somebody else, you are saying about your spouse, doesn't he know, doesn't she know? Tell me, doesn't Allah know? Then why is Allah saying thank? Because thanking is about yourself. It's not about others. Be thankful because this is a reflection of your own self. That is your duty. So being thankful for that reason, because it is your duty to be thankful. I was recently in a place and I saw this interaction where somebody brought some pizza, and one of the young men who was sitting there, he looked at the pizza which had been brought and he said, oh, there's only cheese and vegetarian. I mean, he wanted some non-vegetarian. He said, oh, there's only cheese and vegetarian. Now think about this. Here is somebody who takes the trouble to make this pizza, bring it for you. And you have this comment, oh, it's only this. The comment factually is correct. There was only cheese and vegetarian. But what does that do to that person? What does that show about your own attitude? It shows that you are ultimately you are a very disgustingly ungrateful wretch. Because you don't see the fact that somebody went to the trouble of making or buying this pizza and bringing it for you. You don't deserve that. the person is doing you a huge favor by being and showing his respect and love for you. And all you can see is, oh, what I like is not here. Absolutely, completely disgusting attitude. Now, if this is the attitude you have, believe me, your marriage is, don't get married. I would say to you, do not get married. Marry a tree or something, right? Do not waste your time getting married because your marriage cannot succeed. This attitude has to change. For example, Rasulullah never criticized food. If there was some food which was cooked, if he didn't like it, he did not eat it, but he didn't make a song and dance about it. He didn't criticize it. And how many people, the moment the food comes, they eat it, oh, if there had been a little more salt, it would be better. I wish, where is the salt? If I was little more sugar, this and that, the other big problem, oh, my mother did this, my mother did that. The point is, you don't appreciate the fact somebody's gone to the trouble to slaughter in the kitchen, make this food for you, so that you have a hot meal. Okay, so it's not like what your mother made. If you really like what your mother made so much, why did you get married? Go sit in your mother's house, let her cook for you all her life. Really, this is something which is so completely stupid, but the number of times it happens, right? Many people will not appreciate. For them, not criticizing is equal to appreciating. It is not. Please, open your mouth. Just like you complain every time there is a problem, make sure that you stop complaining and you appreciate the good that you get. Rasulullah made this very clear. He said, the one who has not thanked the people has not thanked Allah. Thankfulness clearly expressed is, and often, not once in your lifetime. Clearly express it and do it often. Is the lifeblood of a good marriage. And remember, doing it often is the key. Every single day. Multiple times in a day. Because when things are not going badly, we don't hesitate to say it. So why not when they are going well? Think about it. Why not when they are going well? That's enough for today. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to help us and make our marriages full of khair and barakah. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to be pleased with you and never to be displeased. Wa sallallahu ala nabiyil kareem wa alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in bi rahmatika ya Allah.